Hey everybody, this is Caryn.
And this is Jill.
And you're listening to Screen Girl Squad.
Yay!
So, Jill and I just watched 13 Ghosts.
We sure did.
And I have so much to say about it.
So much.
The whole time we were setting up the mics and everything, I kept wanting to talk about it. And I had to sit on it because I was like, no, we have to just capture the whole first conversation.
Well, and even because we usually talk during movies, we always have kind of commented to each other about stuff, and it was really hard. It's really hard when we watch these movies to not make those comments and try to save them.
It's so true.
It's kind of hard.
And for the people listening out there, don't worry, we don't do that in the theater.
No. It's a strictly watch at home running commentary.
It's one of the best parts about watching it at home.
Exactly.
We can talk the whole way through and no one cares.
And sometimes it makes movies better.
Oh, yeah. Especially bad movies like 13 Ghosts.
Yes.
Oh,
goodness. So 13 Ghosts came out in 2001. Mm-hmm. In case there was any doubts about that, it stars Shannon Elizabeth and Matthew Lillard. And Matthew Lillard starts out in a see-through raincoat.
Yes.
With the turtleneck.
And Bobby the kid is wearing a ball chain necklace.
Yep. And cargo shorts.
Yes.
And somebody was wearing Doc Martens. I don't remember who.
All of these awful fashions are coming back into vogue. I took my niece shopping, and all of the things that she was explaining to me are back in fashion now. I was like, I wore this garbage when I was a teenager, and it didn't look good then.
No.
Crop tops are back in style, but they call them something different.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so 2001.
2001.
The
Matthew
year in
Lillard in all his glory.
Yes. Oh, yeah, this was definitely peak Matthew Lillard. It was 2 or 3 years after SLC Punk.
And She's All That was in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is just my favorite Matthew Lillard.
Oh, really?
He says this amazing thing where he is just awful, and he starred in the real world, and he's all irritating, and yeah, he has some really great one-liners in that.
Same
he
with
points at
13
his chest and he's like, this is big. It's just, it's horrible.
Pretty much classic Matthew Lillard, the way that we discovered him in high school, because in 2001, Jill and I were high school seniors.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw this movie with our friend Kurt, I think the fall of our senior year.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was, I didn't remember hating it back then. And I loved it enough that I went to Suncoast Video when it came out, which again, 2001, Suncoast Video, Crossroads Mall downtown, and bought it on DVD because I liked it enough that I wanted to buy it.
Well, and we watched it a lot.
Yes.
In your basement. We really, really enjoyed this movie. So we wanted to watch it again a couple of times throughout our lives. Corinne and I say to each other, oh my gosh, I loved that movie. We should watch it. This has never once not been a mistake, and we really need to learn from this at some point, but we just keep doing this.
But I'm so optimistic. They can't all be Never-Ending Story and
or
be mistakes.
Lady in White. We should totally watch Lady in White.
We definitely should watch Lady in White.
Oh my gosh.
It won't be a mistake.
No, that would not be a mistake. It was once, but it never will be again.
Yes. So this movie was infamous in nostalgia, and we watched the crap out of that DVD to the point where it became really badly scratched and unplayable, so we actually had to rent it on Amazon Instant Video to watch it tonight.
Yeah.
Even though I had been confident. I definitely owned the DVD.
Oh, yeah.
Because we watched the special features, and I'll talk a little bit about those later once we get into the dirt of the movie, but all in all, before we started watching the movie, I commented to Jill that I had been looking up on my phone to see where we could stream it. And I was like, it only got 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not right.
When we were talking about it, we're like, how could it possibly have only gotten 15%? This movie was awesome.
Yeah. And I do definitely give horror movies a different scale on Rotten Tomatoes than other things.
Oh, for sure. You expect them. Horror movies are always rated less. Mm-hmm. So, you just are like, oh, yeah, whatever. Oh, no, it deserved that. 15% seems generous. 15% may just be for Matthew Lillard.
Yeah. Were you sharing my thoughts during part of this that we should have just, cut our losses? Let's cut this out. Stop the video. Let's watch something else.
I actually wasn't at that point yet.
Okay.
So I was still like having the nostalgia fun.
Okay,
so
good.
It wasn't that bad.
I think it was, I wanted to cut and run a little bit more because of the flashiness.
That's true. So we've talked about this before. Corinne has light sensitivity. And this movie is the worst nightmare for people with light sensitivity. And like, I have some sound sensitivity and it kind of grated on me by the end. So it is not for the faint of heart. Mm-hmm. And I was reading the movie trivia on IMDb that said this movie was like physically painful for tons of people in the movie theater. And
so they just bailed.
Yeah, like makes sense because it was just edited so horribly with all the flashing and the noise and the music. And it was just, yeah, people.
So much flashing.
Are very upset about this movie.
I think that's one of my pet peeves with horror films, actually, is the flashiness. I think it's really, really common in horror movies because they want to give you a sense of feeling unsettled and off balance, and strobe lights definitely do that. But it also, just for the accessibility folks out there, kind of makes it so a whole swath of people can't enjoy your film.
Well, and for me, it doesn't really make anything more scary. Like, sure, it puts you on edge a little bit, but to me, it's one of those, like, cop-out scary movie tropes. Like, I can't scare you on my own. I'm gonna make it flashy and make you uncomfortable. Like, that, if you have to resort to that, to me, it's a cop-out.
Yeah.
So
I love you so much for just saying tropes.
Better. Did I just get hotter in your mind?
Oh, yeah. Didn't think that was possible, but wow.
Yes. After all these years, you still want me.
Always.
Oh, Snape. Anyway.
So, basic synopsis is there is a family who, and I mentioned this during Pet Sematary, one of my favorite little horror setups is, oh, we're a family going through a crisis, and so we're going to move somewhere different and get a fresh start. And so they inherit this big, beautiful, super unique house with lots of glass walls and Latin etched in the glass, and you can feel how much money it all cost.
Full of a lot of collectibles and things.
Yeah. And so this family goes there, but surprise, there's a basement full of ghosts. And that's
pretty much the gist.
Yeah, that's
There's 13 of them, in case you were wondering.
Wonder where they got the title.
Weird how that happens.
This, by the way, is one of 2 films in that general time period that Matthew Lillard did that has something wonky with the title. Like SLC Punk has an exclamation point at the end of it, and 13 Ghosts, they got all creative and they spelled it so the number 13 replaces like the T and the E in teen.
Okay, I was sitting here as we were talking trying to remember like what letters it replaced, because in my head it does not make sense, and it still doesn't. But
I'm pretty
it does
sure
replace.
that's what it
I think
is.
the T and the E
The T
makes
and the
sense.
E.
Yeah.
Kind of like leet spelling. Back in the,
Yeah. I mean, it was 2001, as we mentioned it before. So what do you think we should rate it on?
We did eat during this movie. We each indulged in like 5 or 6 tiny pieces of salted pretzel chocolate.
Yeah. Out of 5, I'm going to give it a 1.
Oh, I feel so bad.
Maybe a 2. I mean, we didn't turn it off.
No, that's true. I think a 1 is like unwatchably bad.
Yeah. Maybe a 2.
A 2 is fair.
Like, it was still hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But not on purpose. I might bump it up to a 3 because I laughed a lot.
That's true. You know what? Let's give it a 3.
Yeah.
And that extra piece of salted pretzel chocolate is 100% based on the dialogue.
Absolutely. Because the more I think about it, I'm like, I gotta bump it up a little bit more because so many of these lines, and like we've quoted some of these lines for years, but there was even more that I was like, why have we not said that more? You know, like there's some pretty good one-liners. So you gotta give it some credit for that.
Wow, we've been quoting this movie for like 18 years.
Snap.
That's kind of gross.
Thanks for rubbing that in.
This movie can vote.
This movie could be our grown-up child leaving for college.
It could get a mortgage if it wanted.
Oh, boy.
So, Fright Factor.
Oh, Fright Factor. Let's rate it on ghosts. Just ghosts.
Yeah, like super flashy ghosts.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of 5 super flashy ghosts, Jill, what was your fright rating?
Listen, I don't think I've ever done this before, but 0.
It's not very scary, is it?
I was not scared at all.
Yeah.
I was not even like, oh no, what if somebody gets hurt? No.
And there aren't even
There was
really,
nothing.
maybe a couple half jump scares.
Yep.
But yeah, not very scary. This is definitely not a frightening film. It
Nope.
is campy.
Yep.
It is hilarious.
Oh, so funny.
But as Jill mentioned, not necessarily on purpose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe. Whoever wrote that dialogue had to know that it was the good kind of bad.
Yeah, I would think.
But yeah, not scary at all. Not going to give anybody nightmares.
I'm definitely fine walking to my car alone after this. So, okay, let's go into some full spoiler review here.
Yeah, because we need to get in depth about how bad this movie was.
We just
exactly
gotta
why.
jump right in.
Yeah.
So,
All
let's
right.
do it.
Spoilers, you've been warned.
Yep, here they come. All the spoilers. Okay. So the movie starts out, they're in this trash
Junkyard.
or junkyard. Okay, I couldn't think of the term. Full of all these like half smashed cars. And you're like, ooh, what's happening? And Matthew Lillard shows up in his see-through raincoat. Pure late 90s, early 2000s style. All the see-through plastic clothes. Why was that a thing? It was so sweaty and gross.
It was really smart.
And like you just stuck to everything. I don't think I had anything made out of plastic, but I can just imagine.
Did you not even have those plastic shoes? They were like sparkly and plastic.
Oh,
and
well, I did have jelly shoes.
Jelly shoes,
Yeah, of
yes.
course I had jelly shoes. But
nothing made your feet smell worse.
no, gross. But the see-through, I had a see-through plastic backpack though. I'm pretty sure, like one of those mini backpacks back in the day. And it was like sticky enough to stuff. Like if I was wearing a tank top, I couldn't wear it because it would just stick to my skin. So I can't imagine but they had like that see-through plastic like pants and jackets.
And that's something else that's back in style. I was at Iconoclad downtown like a week ago, and they had a see-through plastic fanny pack.
Oh, goodness. Because that's like part of our childhood fashion could come back. Like I'm all for baggy jeans and the grunge movement. I'm okay with that, but I don't want any of that futuristic garbage where everything was like silver and shiny and like you looked like you should be in space. And that's what I feel the see-through plastic was part of that.
Come on, Jill. Space is sexy.
Sure. I mean, Britney Spears made it work in that music video. So, whatever.
So yeah, they're in a junkyard.
They're in a junkyard and Matthew Lillard's there and he's like freaking out and he's trying to take drugs and they're like, no. And he's like, I just want to take the edge off. And you find out pretty quick they're trying to track down this ghost. Mm-hmm. And Matthew Lillard, and Matthew Lillard can like sense it.
Mm-hmm. He can touch the ground
Yeah.
and feel how many people have died in the junkyard. Yeah. And he's like, you said he only killed 8 people. There's 40 bodies here.
And the guy's like, because that was before he died and he's been busy or whatever. So the guy just like starts mayhem. Well, they're trying to draw him out. So they bring in this truck full of blood.
Yeah.
That just like a street washer truck and just sprays blood out the side. Blood that is so unrealistic looking. Like it was probably fruit punch. It was so light red and
runny.
And I mean, it was water dyed red. It was just, they didn't try it all.
And I thought that was pretty interesting to use blood to draw out a ghost.
Right, like, can they smell blood? Do they feel? Are
they sharks?
Yes, like it is Shark Week. Is that a thing? I
don't know.
So, they spray blood. Homeboy shows up, starts throwing crap around, in an amazing way. Sucks a guy into a car while crushing it, and he gets like folded in half and sucked into this car.
Yeah.
And listen. That may sound like it could be scary to you, but they did it in such a cartoonish
It looked like
way.
claymation.
Yeah, like it was just not well done in the slightest. And so you just laughed. You're like, this guy just got folded in half and sucked into a car. And you're just like, well, all right.
Yeah, and
Like-
you cackle because it's hilarious looking.
Yeah.
He got
Like
folded in half the wrong way.
Yeah, it just was not at all scary. There's some ghost hunters there.
Yes. Okay,
And-
their names, by the way. So the main psychic, played by Matthew Lillard, his name is Dennis,
Sure.
which I just think is the most kind and laid-back name. Everyone that I know whose name is Dennis is just, like, really cool and relaxed and not...
Dennis the Menace.
Okay, apart from Dennis the Menace, who was a comic character.
Just saying.
But then these other two psychics show up, and their names are Damien and Kalina.
What does Kalina mean? I mean, Damien, we all know, right?
Yeah.
Demon, but
I don't know, Kalina just sounds
just
cool.
sounds more cool.
I
Like
think.
they tried harder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And she looks all badass and psychic-y, and to be honest, I
But
distinctly
a
remember...
little more on the clean cut side in the
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Because I realized that later she looked a little more punk. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
No, that's
but-
a good point, because
yeah.
in the opening scene, when she first shows up, she's totally rocking this, like, Ghostbusters Sigourney Weaver vibe. She looks like really clean cut. She's got curly brown hair. She just seems cool, Jill. I wanted to be Kalina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, ghost chasers. That's a thing we've all tried.
Oh, totally.
And wanted to do at some point in our lives. So, yeah.
So they show up
That
and
was
they're
cool.
like, how dare you be capturing these ghosts?
We want to set them free and, send them on their way so they're not stuck in limbo anymore. And they're all mad. And then Damien gets killed by the ghost. Probably. Some questions about that later.
Yeah.
So Damien gets killed, and then also Cyrus, the big bad guy, who's orchestrating this whole thing. They're trapping the ghost in this big glass cage with this writing all over it.
A containment cube.
A containment cube. So they get the ghost trapped. That's when they find out Damien died, and Cyrus, who was running the show, also decapitated, or his throat was slit.
Yeah, it's like a piece of metal lodged in his throat,
Yeah.
kind of. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so he died, and the other guy died, and the guy got sucked in the thing. Somebody got trapped in the cube with the ghost. It felt a little like they were trying to be the beginning of Jurassic Park, as they were trapping him in the cube, and everyone was screaming, and chaos was happening.
and
but
he's
it
just a
was
velociraptor going nuts.
right, but it was totally not as cool, but it just reminded me of it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it was definitely a little bit more funny.
Yes, not on purpose.
And there was a great moment during that scene that Jill commented reminded her of Evil Dead 2, and it definitely did.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like in Evil Dead 2 when they're running through the woods with the camera and
And they're just
Yeah.
It kind of did that. There was this shaky, fast camera sequence and the whoa, 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 whoa. So
Jill's other career is as a sound effect person.
I want to do it again. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry, it's really... Anyway. Whenever you're bored, try to make the Evil Dead 2 noise. So, should we talk about another movie? But
Yeah.
didn't I hear once that, that noise was just...
Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Sam Raimi or was it... I thought it was Ash. Just standing there with a mic being like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, one of the two of them.
One of the two of them.
And the camera scene was they strapped the camera to a 2x4 and held it down along the ground. It just ran it.
Yeah. While somebody's in a microphone going, whoa, 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 whoa. So, yeah.
And that is an effect that holds
amazing.
up. Which is not something I can say for this movie.
No.
Yeah.
They clearly did not do that. So it didn't work. Well, and a lot of the camera work in this movie is just shaky and ridiculous for no reason. My biggest pet peeve is shaky cam. And I hated when that was the thing in movies. I can't watch any of the Bourne movies after the first one because they all made me so sick.
Yeah.
In the movie theater.
And it's hard to follow what's
And
going on.
You have no idea. You have no idea who's fighting who killed who, what's going on. I hate it. I hate the whole shaky cam thing.
Yeah.
I can't handle it. So, never watched Cloverfield for that reason. The whole handheld cam thing, I can't. Drives me crazy.
I did like that one.
I've heard it's good, but I haven't watched it for that reason.
Yeah.
Because enough other movies scared me off of it.
Yeah.
So, I know I need to watch it.
I think that for me it comes down to, is it a found footage film? or something that's going for that,
Yeah.
and then they explain why it's so shaky? Or is it like the Bourne movies, and they're
There
just
you
making
go.
it really shaky and frenetic, and every time that I have to ask what is going on, it pulls me out of the story and out of the experience, and I hate that.
Yep.
But with lots of found footage movies, I feel like you're asking what's going on at the same time the characters are like, oh, what's going on? You know, so
It's true.
It
But
feels a little bit
they're
less
still
jarring.
hard for me to
Yeah.
watch. So, anyway, it's one of those things where everything's shaky and jumping around all the time, and it just makes you want to vomit. So that was cool.
I could see feeling between the flashing lights and the shaky camera. I could definitely see people feeling car sick in the theater.
If we had watched this in the dark or like at the movie theater, I probably would have a migraine right now.
Yeah.
It was that like jumpy and flashy, and
Yeah, we had to turn
Yeah.
the lights on about 25 minutes in because it was definitely too flashy.
Too flashy.
Yeah. But so the prologue fades to black, and they introduce us to Arthur and family
Yes.
with the most...
Arthur is Tony Shalhoub. Corinne said she's been watching Monk. I recently rewatched Wings. So he's quite a lovable character in this house. And so that was exciting to see good old Tony Shalhoub. He plays the dad of the family. And so they're all like hanging out at home. Kids are playing in the yard.
They really lay on the happy family shtick, like pretty thick.
So
'cause-
you know pretty quick something's going to mess that up, right?
Yeah.
So like as it's panning from the kids playing to the yard to like the mom and dad cuddling and watching them out the window, and then it pans through all these family pictures and you start like hearing screaming and the house is on fire, grab the kids, and the mom dies in a house fire. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's just it. That's all that happens. They just kill her off right quick. So then, like Corinne said, she loves a story about a family needing to start over. So their house burns to the ground. They have a lot of medical bills, I'm assuming, all kinds of stuff. They said he's a math teacher.
Yep.
So, we all know we don't pay teachers enough. So he's not making enough money. And they're living in a tiny apartment, but somehow hired a nanny.
Who's not a very good nanny. Whatever they're
Terrible
paying
at
her
her
is
job.
too much.
Yeah. She pretty much quickly establishes that she is just there and not super helpful. She doesn't cook. She doesn't clean.
Doesn't do windows.
But yeah, no idea why she's there. So they're all just hanging out in this tiny apartment. Tony Shalhoub trips over a scooter and gets all mad. And he's like, we live in a tiny apartment. You have to keep things clean. And, it's obvious they're having a hard time. So up walks
Slimy
a
lawyer.
shadowy figure down the dark hall. This was the only shot that I was like, that was actually well done. They had this guy like slowly slinking down the hallway of this like poorly lit hallway. Like you were going to set up a villain perfectly. They just show his feet. And he's like slowly walking down. It's lit at the end, but all dark out down the hallway.
A little slow-mo.
Yeah, and you just see him like knock on the door and you're like, oh no, what's happening? So it's this lawyer who says, your uncle died, you inherited this house, yada, yada, yada. So the lawyer, we previously have talked about Teen Wolf and how I watched it for the hot dads. He was one of the hot dads, but he is so not attractive in this movie, like in the slightest.
No, he's very shiny. He reminded me of like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho when Christian Bale like peels off his face mask and his face is just like too clean and too shiny. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep, that was absolutely this fella. And what I found attractive about him in Teen Wolf was he was all like rugged and handsome and had these beautiful blue eyes. And he has the blue eyes, but they're like, it's not like the cute, I don't know. They were just evil. And I'm sure it's just the character he plays, but...
I mean, that means he did a good job, right?
It's true.
Versatile actor right there.
Yeah. He can be super sexy wolf hunter versus just awful sleazy lawyer. So
He can turn Jill on or he can turn Jill off.
it's a magical trait. So then he gives him a house. They all go to the house together late at night for some reason.
Oh, and that's actually my favorite scene in the movie because they like leave their apartment, everyone's excited, and the music kicks in and it's Excess by Tricky, which is one of my favorite songs from high school, and it was used in so many movies. It was in this movie, pretty sure it was Queen of the Damned, but it's just like a really cool, good spooky song. And they do this kind of montage of them getting out of the dirty city and going out to the beautiful country. And also Kalina, the psychic, who's now, as Jill mentioned, like a little bit more like punk looking and just a little bit more edgy.
She did that thing that was really popular in the early 2000s to make you look edgy. I remember the girl from Bring It On who shows up, she's all punk. She did this with her hair where you like put gel in your hair and twist it. So it's like kind of dreads, but not really.
Yes.
So she
and
did
only
that.
Some of them.
Yeah. And she suddenly has like a nose ring and too much eye makeup and like wearing a leather vest. Like this all makes her...
And a bunch of awesome silver rings. Which
edgy.
It's an aesthetic that I personally like.
Yeah.
And she's like stuffing cool magic stuff into a bag and you're like,
and explosives. And like
cool flares.
She was getting ready for a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Corinne's number one favorite scene in the movie. And really all I need is to listen to Excess by Tricky to get that same feeling.
Then they show up at the house. And Matthew Lillard's there, but he's wearing like an orange jumpsuit and says the most amazing line. He like is yelling at everybody trying to get in the house. And he's like, the power's knocked out to the whole tri-quad area. And nobody questions him. And you can tell like the look in his eyes is like, yeah, that was dumb. It's happening.
But it worked though. We're okay.
And they, he's just screaming, come on, it's my first week. You gotta let me in, man. Like, and they let him in. So They all go into the house. The dad and the sleazy lawyer go into the library to sign papers and finalize this whole house thing. And Matthew Lillard goes off to find the power source, a.k.a. explore the house. And you find out pretty quick that Cyrus owed him money. So he's there looking for money or, anything he can to get back at evil Cyrus who ripped him off and died. And the kids immediately go exploring and touching everything because they're kids. And the dad tells them to stay put. So, of course, the second his back is turned, they're all like, should we go? And the nanny, who's completely useless, is like, yeah, let's go touch some stuff. And play in a house we don't understand. Sounds
with
great.
An awful lot of glass.
Yeah. Like, all this expensive crap. Let's just go touch it all. So... Shannon Elizabeth, in pure teenage girl style, goes straight into a bathroom, because that's a thing, and starts playing with, like, the toiletries. And it's just like, this house is amazing. It has perfume and lotion. This is a normal house. I don't understand what she was so excited about.
I kind of liked the bathroom.
It was kind of cool, but, like, because it was glass, but the glass was all frosted. And it had one of those really cool, like, claw tubs, which I love.
Yeah. Every haunted house needs a
it was
classic
kind of
tub.
cool, but she spent the entire time in the bathroom.
Yes, this is true.
Like, didn't look at anything else. And then in the meantime, the nanny and the little kid are playing in some other room.
That has like a bunch of comic books and collectibles and
stuff.
stuff.
Seems like it was set up for the son, which is creepy in itself. And Cyrus didn't have any kids, side note. So they're all playing in this room. And find a pair of glasses. They're playing with the glasses. And the words light up when you put the glasses on. So that was kind of cool.
And that also was kind of a callback to the original film. I think it was like the only thing that was the same.
Yeah, because the original film, this was based on a film from the 60s or 70s? 60s. Which I've actually never seen.
Me neither.
So,
and based on this one,
no,
I'm not
good.
gonna.
Yep. Though it was probably better. So I actually feel like I have seen it. I'll have to look into that. Anyway, so the glasses like help you see ghosts. And that was a thing from the original. So they're playing with the glasses. Nanny immediately loses the little kid because of course she does. She's terrible at her job.
I honestly, throughout the whole movie, couldn't figure out why on earth the family hired her.
Right. Like, well, and it was like they hired her to help take care of the son, but she didn't do that. Like, Shannon Elizabeth was cooking for the son. She was making him do his homework. Like, what did the nanny actually do? And they have this fully grown, looks 22 daughter. Why could she not take care of the little brother? Like, he was old enough to be in school. You would think if they were both in school, she could then take care of him after school. I have a brother much younger than myself, and that's how it worked. You know, like, it's just...
Super weird.
Whatever. It was weird. She had no purpose.
Yeah.
So, other than to say hilarious things.
They did give her absolutely hands down my favorite line of the film, which we'll get to.
We'll get to.
Yeah.
So they're in the house. They lose the kid. Matthew Lillard wanders off into the basement and quickly figures out the basement is full of ghosts in those containment cells.
Yes.
Which he, of course, freaks out about. And then immediately comes upstairs and is like, we all gotta go. We gotta go right now. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And the lawyer clearly knows.
Yes.
Like, he's not oblivious
by
any means, but he's like, no, it's fine. Like, trying to talk everybody into everything. And Tony Shalhoub smartly is like, maybe we should go.
Yes.
Like, this is weird enough. Maybe we should go.
Yeah, so the lawyer guy disappears.
Lawyer disappears. Find him in the basement.
Oh, and he definitely knew there were ghosts because he is unsurprised by their presence. He's, like, sassing them and...
Puts on the glasses. There's a ghost who, for some reason, is completely naked and is just Boobs McGee, just wandering around, shaking everywhere. So he walks past her and he's just like, nice tits. Like, in the most ridiculous lawyer way that you're just like, cool.
Yeah.
You are clearly unfazed by all these. Like, she's all cut up and covered in gross. Like, I think she had too much plastic surgery is her backstory. They all have a backstory.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's all cut up and scarred, and he's just like, whatever. She's got boobs. Like, it's ridiculous. So he walks past all the ghosts, picks up a bag full of money, which then releases some pedals. They look like piano pedals that then start all these mechanisms moving.
Yes.
So because the lawyer is greedy, he puts everyone in danger.
Which was part of the plan. I think
Yes.
he was supposed to kick off the...
Yes.
And then, because he starts everything in motion, the glass panels start moving around and release that girl, the ghost girl. I think she's called the princess or something.
We're not just going to call her Tits McGee.
Okay, so he... See, I've got a lot of favorite words, and I say a lot of words that other people are very uncomfortable with. One of my favorite words, for example, begins with the letter F, but there are some words I'm not comfortable saying, and that's one of them, and I don't know why. So I'm going to call
That's
her
funny
the
because I
princess
learned
one.
that term from you. Just saying, you started it.
We'll have to get in a time machine to prove or disprove that particular theory.
I think anyone who knows us will agree with me that that is something you would start, not me.
Well, then why am I a prude now? Did I grow out of using this word?
I
don't know.
It's okay, we can call her the princess.
Okay.
Or
No, I mean, you can call her
naked
whatever
chick.
you want. But anyway, so the naked girl with her, like, sliced up boobs escapes from her room, or rather is let out. Sorry. She's let out of her room and traps the lawyer. And when another sudden change in the house happens, he gets cut clean in half.
In the most amazing, like, this is probably my favorite scene, just because it was probably the most well done, just from a anatomical perspective. Because they cut him in half, and you can see, like, the outline of his brain, and then the outline of the skull is just perfect.
Yeah.
Going down his esophagus to, like, his ribcage. Like, it's very detailed.
Yeah, it's like hot dog style.
Yeah.
So you see him from head to toe cut in half.
He's cut in half long ways, and then the front half of his body just slowly slides down the glass. So you can see the back half of his body just, like, stuck to the glass, like when a snail is on the window. It's just magical.
Yes. And that leads to the best line in the whole movie later when Maggie, the babysitter, asks, hey, did the lawyer split?
Yep.
Which is hilarious.
Which is just that. And, like, she says something about how he's never looked better. She had something. I maybe didn't write it down.
Oh, right. When they find him again in the basement.
Yeah.
And she realizes, she's like, oh, is that half the lawyer?
Oh, yeah. Something. I can't remember.
She had so many good
but
lines.
it was real great.
So the lawyer bites it.
Lawyer totally dead. First off, first kill. Killed because he's dumb and makes bad choices.
Yep.
Such is life.
Yeah.
So then upstairs, they're all trying to gather the family so they can get out and can't find the kid. The little boy with his scooter. With his awesome Razor scooter, aka 2001.
Yeah.
You know the kind. So he's just riding his scooter in amongst all the ghosts. Not a care in the world. Does he have the glasses on at this point? I can't remember. Because he would see a ghost if he did, right?
This is a good question. I think that he does, because he kind of sees something leading him into the basement. Come down here, Bobby, play with me. And this other voice is like, no, don't go down in the basement. And he also has his tape recorder with him because he was like a podcaster before podcasts were a thing. And he's constantly recording stories about death and death statistics. So as he's riding around this haunted house, he has his little tape recorder, and you can kind of hear ghosts through it. And I thought that was a pretty cool touch.
It was.
So yeah, he makes it down into the basement, and now, of course, the house is shifting, ghosts are being let out, and he
straight up disappears till the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yep. He gets kidnapped, I guess, but...
Yeah.
So he's gone, but meanwhile, the rest of the family doesn't know that.
So they're looking for him.
Yep. And looking for him requires them to go into the basement, which is what Matthew Lillard thinks is a very bad idea.
So this is when Matthew Lillard has some of the best lines in the whole world. He calls them all the Glass Family Robinson, which is just fantastic.
He's telling them there are ghosts in the basement. And they're like, what, this basement?
And he's like, yes, this basement. If it was next door, I wouldn't give a shit. Like, in the most amazing. And then he says our favorite line that we have quoted for, how long did we decide this movie is? 18 years. Did I say there's a petting zoo downstairs? No, there are ghosts in the basement.
And the way he says no.
Yeah, he's like, no.
So much. Just
much
sarcasm.
Yeah, he's very upset about not a petting zoo in the basement. There are ghosts down there. So, they end up going in the basement anyway. Tony Shalhoub, pleads with him, please, I just want to get my family out of here. And he's like...
He convinces him because he's like, yeah, there are ghosts in the basement, but you said they're all in cages.
Right.
So we should be okay.
Yeah, so let's just find my kid. We'll get out of here. Everything will be fine. Mm-hmm. And, he's not very happy about that, but he's like, okay. So they go into the basement. They decide to split up, which nobody thinks is a good idea, but they have to. So they just want to find the kid and get out of there as fast as they can.
Well, and they also have to because this is a horror movie where they use every classic mistake in the book.
Absolutely. So, yeah, go in the basement where the bad guys are. Split up. I'm surprised nobody got drunk or had sex. What are the Scream lists?
Yeah.
Jamie Kennedy? Is that his last name? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamie Kennedy lists out all those horror movie tropes. Yeah, they do a lot of those. So...
Yeah.
Nobody says I'll be right back either.
That's another one, yeah.
Yeah.
But
they're definitely like, we'll see you soon, which is a take on that.
And they double down on the bad decision making.
Yeah. So they all split up. Since the ghosts are now getting freed one by one, the jackal gets freed.
Oh, he's the best one.
Yeah, so he's this really creepy guy with a metal cage on his head.
A metal cage that looks like it's been, eaten from the inside or, exploded out from the inside.
Yeah.
Because the metal tines kind of, curl outward.
It's really unsettling.
Yeah.
Is that the right way of saying that?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has the best costume design out of all the ghosts. And whoever they got to play him does this awesome job of kind of, walking in an unnatural way.
Yes. But all the while lights are flashing and the camera is cutting. They do this trick with the lights flash and then... the person moves, so it is almost like stop motion animation as they like move.
And they get really close, like between flashes,
Yeah.
they move much faster than they really should.
Right.
So that was a cool usage of the lights flashing.
Yeah. But definitely too much happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happened every time you saw a ghost, and it didn't need to.
Yeah.
So yeah, the jackal comes, straight up attacks Shannon Elizabeth, and like throws her against a wall, drags her down the hall.
Scratches up her back. She's screaming.
Yeah, tries to strangle her.
And then Kalina to the rescue. She shows up and she's got flares, and she like scares off the jackal.
She's suddenly this like super cool fighter chick because
Yeah.
she wears a leather vest and has those weird dreads now. So that makes her cool and powerful. So she shows up, scares off the ghost, and Shannon Elizabeth disappears. Or is that later?
Yep, I think that's then, because she shows up and she's explaining to Arthur what she knows about the background of the house and how it's like based on this book called the Arcanum that, I don't know if that's a real thing. It felt like a poor man's version of the Necronomicon, but that was like written by some monk while he was possessed, and it's a machine that was designed by the devil and powered by the dead, and she kind of like gives us a little bit of background there, and when they turn around to look back at Kathy, she's gone.
Yeah.
Shannon Elizabeth, rather.
Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And right before that happened, like as they're in the basement, it kind of flashed and you see the dead mom in the basement as well as Cyrus.
Yes.
So you're kind of like, wait, what? A little bit. And then Shannon Elizabeth gets attacked, you get distracted.
Yeah. And meanwhile, because they split up, Matthew Lillard's character is off with Maggie, and they get attacked and kind of like split up a little bit. And Matthew Lillard's character gets attacked by one of the other ghosts who is like an angry teenager with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Like he looked like he could have been in The Outsiders or something.
Yeah, for sure. But like with half his head gone.
Yeah. So I laugh.
Maybe.
His hair's gone. Haha.
Maybe in The Outsiders after Johnny gets burned by the fire.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So he's Johnny from The Outsiders, and he's
After
attacking
he's burned
poor
by the
Matthew
fire.
Lillard.
It was bad.
But he manages to evade that, and the two separate groups, Matthew Lillard and Maggie, and then Arthur and Kalina, they all make their way back upstairs and meet in the library.
And then they have this whole conversation about, Matthew Lillard's like, what the crap are you doing here? To Kalina. Is that her name? It's weird. It's like a Utah name. Like somebody's going to name their kid that after hearing this podcast. So
If you're thinking about naming your kid Kalina, stay tuned to the end for the love of all that's holy so that you don't accidentally name your daughter Kalina.
stop thinking of ways to spell it with a Q and a Y and a 7. Anyway, so they go back upstairs. Kalina explains that, like, how does she explain? It's one big machine. The house is this machine that whoever runs this machine becomes the most powerful person in the world. But they don't really talk about why, other than the devil designed the machine and it controls the dead.
Yeah, well,
But there wasn't really a lot of motive explained, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like they didn't explain why necessarily. Because she kind of loosely says, well, it opens up this, what does she call it, an oculus infernum, the eye of hell.
Eye of hell.
And that it allows you to see past, present, and future. And if knowledge is power, you'd be the most powerful person in the world. Which I guess is kind of true. I don't know if that axiom's even true,
Right. Well, and it sort of cements my problem with this movie is you don't care about anybody. Like, they don't spend enough time with any of the characters. If anybody, the dad is the one you get the most out of.
Yeah.
So I think you probably care about him the most. Maybe Matthew Lillard is a close second, but we have no real knowledge of Cyrus or his motivation or why he just one day was like, I'm going to build a machine that's invented by the devil and powered by the dead. Like, it's just not believable. Like, there was no explanation about that.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Like,
just
is he just generally
okay,
power
he's just
hungry?
crazy?
Yeah.
Like, there really wasn't any, how did he pull this off? Like, there was no backstory there.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of, how did he get Matthew Lillard to help him? How did he, you know, like, there just wasn't a lot of, I think Matthew Lillard says at one point, like, he was my friend and he wanted to help me, but like...
Or pretending to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he kind of gives a little speech about how, like, he didn't have a lot of options because he's such a powerful empath that he says, if I get within 10 feet of anything dead, I go into seizures. Which I thought was an interesting dialogue choice, considering this film would have 100% given off a lot of people seizures.
Yeah. Well, and he was within 10 feet of a ghost the entire effing movie, so... how he was not just on the floor the whole time, I don't...
A valid question.
Yeah, but... And he, like, can't get touched, or people's entire lives flash before his eyes. Like, he kind of had a rough life, poor guy. But, yeah.
So Kalina explains the whole purpose of the machine and that it needs 12 ghosts. And Matthew Lillard cuts in, but wait a minute, back at the junkyard, Damon said you need 13 ghosts. And Kalina says, well, yes, that's a failsafe. If you want to stop the machine from working, you need this 13th ghost that's a self-sacrifice out of pure love, and they have to, like, jump into the machine right when the Oculus opens and essentially short-circuit it. And Matthew Lillard's like, no, that's stupid. Give me that book. Like, a book written entirely in Latin by some mad monk.
He's like, that doesn't make sense. Let me read it. And grabs this book, and then he's like, I don't speak Latin. And it just was so... His sarcasm is just on point.
Yes.
I really, really enjoy it. So...
The adults in the room, essentially, except for Kalina, agree, yes, that is a bad plan. So what we should do instead is let's go back into the basement, try to find the kids again, see if we can find a way out. So they venture back into the basement, hoping to find the kids and escape before the 12th ghost is let out. And I think at that point, 11 had been let out.
And Matthew Lillard, again, says another amazing line. Maybe it was the girl. But they were like, we have 10 minutes till the ectoplasmic shit hits the fan. Like, they had to just throw that in there.
Yes.
And it's the most cheesy, ridiculous line ever. So, they have 10 minutes. So, they run off into the basement.
And they split up, and Kalina is separated from the fam.
Mm-hmm.
And she encounters the ghost of Cyrus, who's all bloody and still has a, like, chopped off head, neck wound thingy. And he leans in.
She immediately starts making out with and
Jill
made me audibly go, ugh. Because I'm thinking she's kissing a dead guy. Spoiler, not dead.
Not dead. Was never dead.
Never dead. Big lying faker pants.
He orchestrated the whole thing, and this is why you should not name your daughter Kalina, because it turns out that she was in league with him the whole time, and she's trying to trick Arthur into jumping into the Oculus.
Got her boyfriend killed in the beginning so she could make out with this.
I think she said she slit his throat. So
okay, so that was where we kind of talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
I think, she killed him,
Yeah.
which is just worse. Like...
Yep.
But, so then Cyrus says, we have to put the kids in danger so that Tony Shalhoub will sacrifice himself for them, and that's where she draws the line?
Yeah, she suddenly has some, like, moral qualms.
He didn't even say kill the kids, he said, like, put him in a position so then he'll have to sacrifice himself, like, but she's totally fine killing this other dude.
And slitting her own boyfriend's throat.
Yeah, like,
totally
whatever.
absurd.
Totally, yeah, anyway, whatever. So, she's a weirdo.
So, meanwhile, Arthur and Matthew Lillard, they get trapped in a room with the same ghost that they were trying to trap in the beginning of the movie, the Breaker, aka the Juggernaut. And there's only one piece of, like, protective etched glass, and only one of them will fit in the corner behind it, so...
Oh, that's right. When they were in the library and they decided to go in the basement, they decided to take a piece of the wall with them.
Yeah,
to block.
like a shield.
So they had been, like, blocking ghosts from them. Like, they were running at them with this whole big, wall shield and, like, squishing them up against the wall and all that kind of fun stuff. So, one of them gets trapped in the corner, and there's only room for one. There can be only one. And Matthew Lillard says, don't worry, I've been looking for a reason to like myself for a really long time. Which is just the most heartbreaking, adorable Matthew Lillard in all his glory, sacrifices himself and gets killed.
Yeah, it's very sad. But a few minutes before, he had mentioned super casually that it would sure suck to bleed to death.
Oh, yeah.
So at least he just gets broken in half.
There
and
you
doesn't
go.
bleed to death. So there's that.
There you go. There's that. Yeah, it's totally fine. It's much better. So he dies. And Cyrus straight up kills Kalina.
Yep.
He's just like, and I have no use for you anymore. And she gets squished in between two pieces of glass wall. Again, in a comically squeezing toothpaste out of a tube kind of way. It was just, you know, cartoon eyes popping sort of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
So that also happened.
So the final spell starts, which involves like a whole lot of backwards sounding Latin being played over loudspeakers and the ghosts all kind of being summoned to the main entryway in the house where there's like this clockwork mechanism thingy. And Arthur gets to see his wife momentarily. They have a nice moment of touching hands on opposite sides of the glass before she's summoned to the big finale, which was kind of sweet. Arthur's very, very sad.
Yeah.
And he goes upstairs.
And it's just like a circle of ghosts.
Yeah.
Surrounding this big machine that reminded me of something, and I haven't figured out what it is yet.
There's like all these discs
that
keep
like
flipping.
spin in a circle.
I think it's kind of like a sort of weird wind chime that I've seen before, where there's like a whole bunch of cutout circles, and you hang it off your eaves and the wind blows it and the circles all kind of like spin around each other. It was like that, like a whole bunch of discs, and they're all flying around and being razor sharp, and the special effects are totally not holding up. And Uncle Cyrus shows up and starts trying to like beat the shit out of Arthur, and essentially
No, he's just standing there in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's just standing there in the corner, and Cyrus is like looking at the circle of ghosts, and he's like, oh my gosh, I have to sacrifice myself to save my kids.
Right.
And he looks over, and Cyrus maybe says something like, it's okay, Arthur, do it, or something like that. And then he remembers what Matthew Lillard said about 13 ghosts, and he's counting the ghosts, and he's like, wait, there's only 12. Mm-hmm. And so then he takes off his glasses and turns and looks, and Cyrus is still standing there.
Right.
And then he like rushes him, and they start beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah, and Cyrus is like, you don't have a choice. You're going to have to throw yourself into the thing, which didn't make sense to me, because if it's a sacrifice of pure love, you can't like bully someone into doing that.
Right? Yeah.
But anyway.
That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So
they're grappling, and meanwhile, Maggie downstairs has found the wacky recording, and she starts like throwing buttons around and like messing with the tape, and everything gets all wonky, and the machine kind of starts slowing down and breaking down a little bit and loses some of its power on the ghosts. So the ghosts all turn to Uncle Cyrus, and they're like, that's the dude who put us in creepy cages. Let's throw him into the machine.
Which just slices him up into itty bitty bits of pieces, but still keeps running.
Yeah, like,
for some reason.
For some reason. But that's when Arthur's math teacher skills get to shine.
Because the machine starts doing this thing that up to this point it had not been doing. Mm-hmm. Where it stops for a sec and then spins again.
So he gets to do some pattern recognition.
Yep.
Like figure out kind of, which makes me think of another Tony Shalhoub movie, Galaxy Quest. Where they've got to like figure out when to go through the obstacles. But he picks the right moment, jumps through, saves the kids.
Yes.
Machine explodes. Ghosts all get to wander off into the freedom of the night and disappear, and he gets to have a very touching goodbye with his wife.
Yep.
And Maggie gets to deliver another awesome line about, sorry, family, ghosts, uncle, whatever, I'm gonna go catch a train to Jersey, I'm done with this stuff.
Which, then the movie cuts to black. So it ends with her just, like, ranting, and then it was, like, movie over.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was so funny. Like, that's the... Like, that to me cemented, this was the kind of movie they were trying to make. They ended it with this, like, sarcastic rant about, I want to be a nanny, I don't know how to take care of kids, and
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. I'm done. So, to me, it was like, they just weren't even trying, because the movie ended with a rant.
Yeah.
of comical proportions.
Like, it almost, I'm wondering, did they try to make a spoof horror movie and I just missed that? Like how the movie House scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid, but it was actually supposed to be really funny?
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Yeah. Nope. No idea. So, yeah. So my big beef with it was you really didn't care about any of the characters. You had no idea what anybody's motivation was other than the dad to protect his kids.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So if, like Jill and I, you watched 13 Ghosts almost 2 decades ago, and you want to revisit that goodness, just be warned, it's probably not going to live up to your memories.
Yeah.
That being said, like, if you're in the mood for a movie that is not at all frightening, has a lot of hilarious dialogue, and you like the shaky cam flash combination, definitely rent it. It's out there.
Yep. And as always, give your love and support to Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
That man is friggin' amazing.
He's a treasure.
He saved that movie for me.
Well, and I read in an interview or heard in an interview that he didn't actually really enjoy making the movie. And so I was watching a couple of the scenes, and when they're in the basement, some of them, especially Tony Shalhoub, are dripping sweat.
Yeah.
And I think it was really hot, and the glass made everything even hotter. So it apparently wasn't a very enjoyable experience to make the film, which kind of bums me out.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that there were so many amazing quotable lines that Jill and I have gotten to enjoy for so long.
Maybe that helped fuel his, like, sarcasm and delivery of some of the lines in such a perfect, I hate you all way.
Yeah, like I'm just done with all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, he's still a national treasure. He should be protected at all costs. So support Matthew Lillard.
Yes, that's our message for the day.
Yes, and I think this means we have to watch his other amazing movie, Scream, because
that's a classic. We absolutely must watch that. But we're going to watch a couple new ones first, I think.
Yeah, we have a couple others on our list, but at some point we'll have to.
Hopefully we'll have a review of The Curse of La Llorona coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
And a few others. So this is the first episode that we're recording after we hit a pretty big milestone of getting the podcast on, I think, all of the major podcast platforms.
We tried, so we hope we hit them all. If you find one we're not on, let us know, and we'll be happy to try and get it there.
Definitely. We want to be everywhere.
Yes.
And if you happen to listen to us on a platform like Apple Podcasts that allows you to rate and review the podcast, we'd be really grateful if you'd leave a review. That'll help other listeners find us.
Yes. We do appreciate that. We are also on all manner of social media. We're trying to get better about posting that. So talk with us. Tell us what you want to hear and what you would like us to discuss in the future. We are totally open to suggestions. If there's a movie that you absolutely love and you want to hear us talk about it, please tell us. We would love that.
Yeah, 100%.
We love suggestions, especially if you love a movie that you're like, nobody's ever heard of this. We absolutely want to hear about it. So
definitely.
Thanks everybody for tuning in to our 13 Ghosts viewing experience. We're sorry if you heard us talk about it and decided to watch it yourself. No, we're not sorry. It was, there was plenty of laughing to be had.
It is not time
I'm sorry
wasted.
You didn't get to watch it with Caryn. That's what I was trying to say here.
Well, thank you all for listening to Jill and I. Tune in next time for more Scream Girl Squad.
Woo!